Welcome to the most beneficial cash transformation system in the world. This is the first step in taking control of your financial future. This intuitive online system enables you to use financial strategies that the banking industry has used for decades to transform scheduled interest payments into wealth. Here you will maximize your cash flow, increase your net worth, and pay off your debt in record time. At this point, you may be asking yourself, how is this program different than every other financial tool out there? Well, simply put, most financial tools currently available tell you the same old thing, what you've done in the past. But this is where the biggest problem lies. You cannot change the past, so why dwell on it? Never before has a system existed that shows you where you are today, where you're going tomorrow, and exactly how to get there. One of the best things about this program is that it works for consumers in many different financial situations. To illustrate this, we would now like to introduce you to another homeowner example, John and Rebecca Jones. When you first log into the program, there are a few things you will find different than any other financial tool you have seen. For instance, at the top, you will see what we refer to as your financial dashboard. Just like a GPS in your car, the financial dashboard shows where you are, where you're going, and how quickly you will get to where you want to be financially. And because the program monitors your finances 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, if you make a wrong turn financially, the program recalculates based on your current situation to get you back on track, thus helping you to achieve your true financial potential. These financial dashlets or focus points can be changed to show you additional information, a few of which are years to pay off, interest saved, and interest remaining. Below the dashboard, you can see 4 easy navigation points on the left: action plan, budget, accounts, and reports. To the right, you can see settings, help, and log out. Let's go to our accounts tab. From here, let's select mortgages. Here we can see that John and Rebecca have a 30-year first mortgage for $200,000 at 5.25%. with a monthly payment of $1,104.41. In their creditor's loan section, we can see that John and Rebecca have an auto loan for $25,000 at 4.5% with a payment of $466.08, a MasterCard for $5,500 at 18.49% with a payment of $99, and a Signature loan for $2,400 at 17.9% with a payment of $139.65. All of these loans add up to $232,900, which the principal remaining dashlet shows us at the top left here. John and Rebecca also have a checking account with a balance of $500, which is also their minimum balance. This means the program will not use this $500 to pay off debt. In their savings account, they have a balance of $5,238.89 and a minimum balance of $4,530, which the program will not use. Now let's go to our budget tab. This is where you set up income and expense budgets. Here we can see that John has an income of $1,314 semi-monthly, and Rebecca has an income of $2,417 monthly for a total monthly income of $5,045. From here, we can also review their living expenses. We see that John and Rebecca have a living expense budget of $2,850. In other words, this is what they will spend each month on gas, groceries, utilities, and so on, with $415 allocated for food, $300 for bills and utilities, broken out, and $2,135 for everything else in the month. When we add in their loan payments, we can see that their total monthly expenses come to $4,659.14. The Budget and Accounts tab is what makes up the Action Plan and is how the Action Plan is built. From these two sections, the program is constantly looking ahead to predict what and when bills and income are due, and from there suggest strategic funds transfers throughout our payoff time to help us achieve our financial goals. Now let's go to the Action Plan tab. The Action Plan is a dynamic snapshot of your deposits and withdrawals laid out in the order they are due. The dashboard is where the program displays the results of our actions and shows us where we are headed. Now, let's see how the Action Plan and the dashboard communicate with us. First, we will change our principal remaining dashlet to years to payoff. Here, we can see that John and Rebecca's 30-year mortgage, auto loan, signature loan, and credit card balances totaling $232,900 will all be paid off completely in only 11.9 years. Now, let's change our principal paid dashlet to interest remaining. Here we can see the interest they are scheduled to pay is cut down to $81,457 from over $225,000 that they were scheduled to pay in interest before starting on the program. This is a savings of over $143,000 that John and Rebecca will never have to pay the bank simply by following the program. Now, let's change their principal remaining dashlet to interest saved. On the left of the dashlet, we can see their potential interest savings of $143,755, and the program will track their actual savings in real time as they follow the prompts of the action plan. In order to show you how impactful the program is for John and Rebecca, we will log into their exact same account by opening a separate web browser to show you the before and after effects of each action we perform in their program. John is paid on commissions, and this week has not been the best week for John, so he's expecting a smaller than normal paycheck. He selects his paycheck and adjusts the amount down to what he expects to receive, $1,100, because he wants to see how much an impact that smaller check will have on his finances. Then saves it to the action plan. We can see that the interest remaining dashlet has gone from $81,457 to $81,623, which is a long-term difference of only about $166. So John's able to breathe a little easier. We can also see the funds transfer, which was scheduled to our MasterCard for $1,073, has been decreased to $859. This is because of the decrease in the expected income. The program is always looking ahead to save as much time and interest on your debts as possible, but recalculates when things change to keep you on course. Let's go ahead and update the action plan on the left side. Now, John receives his actual paycheck, and it came in even lower than what he expected. It came in at $950. John records that in his action plan by clicking Final Transaction and clicks Execute. Once John does this, we can see our interest remaining has increased from $81,623 to $81,886, a difference of about $262. This means that the reduced income will result in having to pay a little more interest on their debt long term. We can also see the funds transferred to the MasterCard and savings account have been rescheduled to the following month. Thus, we can see the program recalculates based on what has happened. Now, let's update the action plan on the left side. Now, we'll do a multiple execute and select these actions at the same time. By executing these actions, John is telling the program that they have been done in real time. We are executing our mortgage payment, signature loan, Rebecca's paycheck, our gas bill, and selecting Final Transaction. We are also going to tell the program that they spent $215 out of the food and dining budget. But we won't select Final Transaction on the food and dining budget as they are not done with groceries for the month. This will leave the food and dining budget on the action plan. Now that we've completed these items, the program shows our interest remaining has decreased from $81,886 to $80,975, which is a difference of $910.80. This difference comes from the interest paid on our signature loan of $35.80 and our first mortgage interest of $875, as we can see here. Now, let's update the action plan on the left side. John has received his second paycheck. John kicked it into gear and ended up getting a paycheck of $2,410. Now, we select Final Transaction and click Execute. Notice the years to pay off have decreased from 11.9 years to 11.8, and the interest remaining has gone from $80,975 to $79,721. This is a difference of $1,254. We can also see that because his paycheck came in for a little more, the program has generated new funds transfers to execute. Let's update the action plan on the left side and execute these 3 transactions. We've updated our food and dining budget to Smith's Groceries, and we've selected Final Transaction. After executing these actions, notice our interest saved dashlet has gone to $7,968, showing us how much interest we've saved so far. The dashboard is showing John and Rebecca the progress they're making every step of the way. John and Rebecca then get some exciting news. Their daughter Katie is getting married. But along with this comes the cost of paying for a wedding. So John adds a new action estimating the wedding to cost around $7,500 and anticipates the wedding to be on November 30th. Once added, their years to payoff will go from 11.8 to 12.3, and we see their interest remaining has gone from $79,567 up to $86,829, which is a difference of $7,261. This means they will pay $7,261 more in interest because of the $7,500 wedding expense, which we added down here. We also see they had a funds transfer in July to their MasterCard, which has been removed due to the wedding. So again, the program always shows us the cause and effect of each action, similar to how a great financial planner would inform us. Now let's update the action plan again on the left side. Katie then informs John and Rebecca that the confirmed wedding date will actually be on June 30th, 5 months sooner than originally estimated. So John simply enters the confirmed date and saves it to the action plan. As he does so, we can see the years to payoff go up from 12.3 to 12.4, and the interest remaining has gone up from $86,829 to $87,501, which is a difference of $672. We also can see that John and Rebecca will now need to borrow $1,509 on the MasterCard to be able to pay for the wedding on June 30th. Now let's update the action plan on the left side again. Later on, John and Rebecca get the bill for Katie's wedding, and it turned out to be $12,500, far more than the $7,500 they had estimated. John and Rebecca then take a deep breath and update the cost. As we can see here, their payoff has gone up from 12.4 years to 12.8 years, and the interest remaining has increased from $87,501 to $95,508, which is a difference of over $8,000. Because of the higher than expected wedding expenses, you'll also notice that instead of having to borrow only $1,509, they're going to have to borrow $6,509 from the MasterCard to pay for the wedding, as they will not have enough cash available. Now that we've seen the comparison, let's update the left side. Now let's go to the Accounts tab. John has been approved for a visa of 8.9% with a credit limit of $8,900. Once the account is added, John clicks Save, and the dashboard will immediately show how this new visa will impact their long-term finances. We can see that their payoff time has decreased from 12.8 years to 12.7. Why? Well, let's take a look at the action plan. The action plan is now asking John and Rebecca to borrow funds for the wedding from the new Visa instead of from the MasterCard. This change results in savings of over $3,100 in future interest cost. That's a big difference in our interest remaining from $95,508 down to $92,390. The program looks for every strategic advantage 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. All it needs to know is the accounts available, and it automatically maps out the most strategic plan to maximize your time and interest savings. Now let's update the action plan on the left side. The $3,100 in interest savings has John and Rebecca feeling pretty good, and they say, you know what? We're about to be empty nesters, and we want to travel the world a little bit. What would happen if we bought an RV? So, they enter the purchase price of the RV, which is $95,000 for 120 months at 2.5% and a payment of $895. Then Rebecca says, let's do this after Katie's wedding. So they hypothetically set up the first payment to occur on July 22nd. Now remember, the program will not lie to us. It will only tell us the truth of where we are today, where we are going, and exactly what's going to happen along the way. As we can see, with the changes made, the dashboard changes to insufficient funds, which means if John and Rebecca proceed according to their plans with the RV, they will run out of money. Let's zoom in on the dashboard to take a closer look. The dashlet shows your expenses will exceed your available funds on 7/31/2017 by $756.11, only $619.91 available in all other accounts. The interest remaining dashlet shows $35,995.69 in interest before they completely run out of money in July 2017. If we change our interest remaining dashlet to time to exceed, we see John and Rebecca will run out of available funds in 27 months. Can you imagine if John and Rebecca had bought that RV without the knowledge from this program? They could have been in some real trouble 27 months from now. So, John and Rebecca started looking at used RVs and find a similar one for $62,000. So they enter that price and the program shows their payment as $584.47. Before adding the RV to the program, we were at 12.7 years. With the RV, our payoff goes up to 17.8 years and the interest remaining has increased from about $92,000 to over $164,000. This is a huge difference for John and Rebecca. Buying an RV, even a used one, will cost them over $72,300 in additional interest. So, John and Rebecca start reasoning this out. Before we started using the program, we were going to pay off in 30 years, they say, and now we're down to 17.8 years, even with an RV and paying for a wedding. That's not so bad. They decide that although they love the 12.7-year payoff they had before, they are going to go ahead and buy the RV. That's what people love about this program. It helps us to achieve our dreams and do the things we love while making educated decisions that help us to get ahead at the same time. Let's update the action plan on the left side to reflect the RV loan. Now, remember, we were at 12.7 years to pay off before the RV, and now John and Rebecca would really like to get back down to that number. So John decides to see what it would look like if he took up a handyman side business he hasn't been doing for a while to see if they can get their payoff back down to 12.7 years again. John decides to plan on about $550 of income per month from the side business. So he adds that to his program, which takes him from 17.8 years down to 12.3, and from $164,752 in interest remaining down to $99,861, a savings of $64,891. In addition, they only have to borrow $4,859 from their Visa instead of $6,509, a difference of $1,650. John and Rebecca are so excited about this. The program calculates everything down to the penny, all the way out until everything is paid off. It sees exactly how much we're going to have to borrow before we borrow it, where the best place to borrow from is, along with showing us the actual cost, which helps us make educated decisions that will actually benefit us and help us to think before we act. Then, simply lays out the exact plan for us to follow. Let's update the action plan on the left side. Rebecca wants to see if they can save even more time and interest. Rebecca calls their cell phone provider and negotiates their monthly bill from $150 to $107, a decrease of $43 per month. Now, experience has taught us that most people would just find another way to spend that $43 every month, which means you really wouldn't be saving anything. But remember what the program does. It looks at every situation to maximize every penny. For some people, $43 does not seem like much, but let's see what the program can do with that $43 per month. Currently, we're at 12.3 years to pay off and $99,861 in interest remaining. After decreasing the cell phone bill, however, we're down to an even 12 years with only $97,153 in interest remaining. That seemingly insignificant $43 used strategically is going to save John and Rebecca over $2,700 of future interest. This also changed the amount that we'll need to borrow from the Visa. Instead of borrowing $4,859, we're now borrowing $4,730. John and Rebecca are really excited about what the program is doing for them. They wonder, though, if they should focus on paying off the RV before everything else. After all, they reason, it does have a pretty high monthly payment and John would really like to have it paid off. So they come into Settings, click on Preferences, and change their program focus setting from automatic to the RV loan, which overrides the program to pay off the RV loan. Immediately, the program shows us that if they focus on paying off the RV first, their interest remaining and years to pay off will increase from 12 years to 12.3, and from $97,153 of interest remaining to $105,061. This means if they override the program and do not let the program do its job, but force it to focus on the RV loan first, they will pay in excess of an extra $7,900 of interest on their debts and take over 3 months longer to pay off. Having seen the cost of overriding the program's strategies, they change the program focus back to automatic. John then says to Rebecca, what if we tell the program we want to save up $47,000 before we pay off debt, instead of the minimum balance we currently have of $4,530 in our savings account? He makes that change and the program shows it will take 81 months or 6.75 years to build up. Their payoff time has gone up from 12 to 14.1 years, and their interest remaining has increased by over $27,000. Now they decide saving up a minimum balance of $47,000 in their savings account, which only pays them 0.5% interest, is not worth the increased interest and payoff time. So they decide against it and change it back. Now, the important thing to remember is that all of these decisions have been John and Rebecca's to make. Although the program shows them the impact of their decisions, John and Rebecca are still in control of their finances and can do whatever they like with their money. But with the help of the program, they are now making more educated decisions based on strategic calculations rather than emotions and guessing. So what has the program done for John and Rebecca? It has simplified their life and will help them save 18 years of mortgage and other debt payments and over $135,000 in interest payments. It will also help them pay for a wedding, purchase and pay off an RV. And on top of that, they're scheduled to pay off on April 15th, 2027. At that point, if they continue to deposit the payments they were paying towards debt into a simple savings account, earning just 0.5% interest. At the end of 2027, they would have over $27,000 in their savings account. And by the end of the year 2045, the same time they would normally just be paying off their 30-year mortgage on their own, they could instead have over $660,000 in their savings account. This program shows you the cause and effect of virtually every financial decision you make and provides you with proven strategies to turn ordinary finances into extraordinary results. In short, it will guide you on how to reach your true financial potential. Can you imagine where you would be today if you would have known about this program like John and Rebecca 12 years ago? Does the thought debt-free and building wealth come to mind? We are confident that this program will give you a sense of renewed hope and bring relief to the seemingly never-ending financial burden for many individuals and families like John and Rebecca. To see what this program will do for you, be sure to ask about our free savings report.